Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beard, taking a look at the feature race at Gulfstream Park on Sunday. It's the ladies' turf sprint. We're going 5/8 of a mile, carded as race number 9. Let's take a look at this field. 9 entered in here, and Stone Silent comes off a stakes win at Gulfstream Park. That was the Abundantia, and it was her first start for Brian Lynch, and she showed off a new rating gear.
Yeah, it seemed like that was the plan first time out for Lynch and Junior. It worked pretty well, Dan. I wonder if they continue with those tactics here. She's got the rail and she's got plenty of speed. If they decide they want to try to use it, this pace could be fast though.
Let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector, and they are expecting a fast pace. And if Stone Silent wants the lead, she can make it. If they opt for those rating tactics, that works as well. Fulminate, though, is a fast horse, Mike. So is Boo Boo Kitty. We don't know what we're going to get from Boo Boo Kitty, though. This horse hasn't raced in over a year.
Yeah, she hasn't raced in a long time. It's also going to be her turf debut. So there's a lot going on with that horse, who's just, I guess, a real wild card in here, Dan. We'll see how much speed she has off the long break.
Stone Silent showed ability for John Sadler, showed ability for Steve Asmussen. And I have to admit, Mike, I threw a fit, an embarrassing fit, when this horse lost to Galway. I bet this horse, and I thought she had the race won in the stretch. It was a very humiliating performance by me. This was a good performance by Stone Silent, who sat off the rail, came with a nice move, gets out a little bit in the stretch, but always keeps to her task.
Yeah, and again, it just this seemed like it was the real plan in this race too. I mean, they rated her right from the break, took her out into the clear immediately, and sat on the outside. And she wins this race very easily, with plenty left at the end there. That pace wasn't that fast either, so it's not like she had to rate there. They wanted to rate her, so I don't know. It was a good performance. Brian Lynch can do no wrong at this meet. Everything he sends out there is just super live. And again, this horse has speed. They have the rail now. They might have to come out of there running. It's not an issue for her.
Glitter Up also has speed. Heck, she was part of the pace in the Abundantia before tiring to finish fourth behind Stone Silent. She ran well in her race 2 starts back. It was her first off of a pretty lengthy layup. It was on synthetic. She went gate to wire that day. I'm not sure if she's a stakes horse. That's something she still has to prove.
I'm worried about that too. She just might not be good enough to win a race like this. I think one of the positives, they did put her on the lead last time, and again, those fractions might look fast. That pace wasn't that fast, and she just wasn't good enough to win that race. But there is a race that she has here last January, Dan, where she had trouble at the start. She wound up well back off the pace, and she passed horses that day, so she can do it if she has to.
Fulminate, the number 3, comes into this race sharp. Gate to wire score and a high level allowance, going 5/8 of a mile. Just went right to the frontier, opens up turning into the stretch, has enough under Paco Lopez to hold on. She'll be stepping up back into the stakes ranks for the first time in about 2.5 years, but she's in very good form. This barn's been sending out some live runners.
Yeah, it does feel like maybe they've gotten her good too. Even her race off that little bit of a layoff too back on the all weather was a pretty good performance. I don't know. I just didn't want to bet her off of that race we just watched, Dan. That pace was not fast. She had all the best of it in there on a loose lead. The closers were way up against it in that spot. And she ran a career best figure to win that race on the day. I think she has to run better than that against this.
Maybe I'm making a mistake not going back to baby steps. So I bet last time out, despite having concerns at the distance, the Sunshine Filly and Mare Turf at a mile. It was her first race off of about a 3.5-month layoff. She got loose in here. She set a reasonable pace. She just didn't stay the mile. Now she's got to cut back to 5. And I wonder, does that dull her speed a little bit?
It's hard. It's not an easy thing to do. The good news for her is that she actually ran pretty well in this race we're watching right now. It just so happens that the horse that won that race, Sweet Danny Girl, was, I don't know, 10 lengths the best in there and won like it. But this horse ran pretty well 2 back when she broke on top on the all weather and wired that field. Dan, the interesting thing about her are the races 3 and 4 back, where she passed horses. She sat and ran behind wire to wire winners from off the pace in turf sprints. I think she can do that in here, and this pace might set things up for her.
The 5, the Arcadian Way, goes out for a very good trainer in Josie Carroll. The issues, though, are significant. We haven't seen her since the summer. She's going to be running on turf, where her best races in the past have come on synthetic, but she's also shown some high speed.
Yeah, I don't know if having a lot of speed is actually going to help her in here, because this pace, might wind up being fast. I just feel like, who knows if she's going to wind up being a turf horse, Dan, but the one start on the surface a couple of years ago, I just don't think you're supposed to get too concerned about it. Her race on dirt prior to that was bad. Her race on the all weather after that was bad. It just feels like she wasn't that good then, and she's a better horse than those first 2 starts for Josie Carroll, who really knows what she's doing.
Joe Bravo takes the mount on the Arcadian Way. Jose Ortiz picks up the mount on the big layoff horse. That's the 6, Boo Boo Kitty, who's won 3 of her last 4, all those races on synthetic, including a stakes race at Presque Isle Downs. Who knows what we're going to get off a 1.5-year layoff switching surfaces, except likely early speed.
Yeah, I mean that's what I looked at. That's how I looked at her too. I mean, I know that she's probably going to show speed in this race, and maybe that alone makes her dangerous. I mean, it's not like she doesn't have races that would give her a real chance in here if she handles the turf. I don't know, man. I don't want to bet her off of this kind of a layoff where she has to go fast early. And when you look up Kevin Rice is a really good trainer, but he doesn't have great numbers off of long layoffs like this.
If you believe there's going to be a barbecue up front, a mare that should be closing from off the pace is the number 7, Choose Joy. She's remarkably consistent. She's hit the exact in 15 of 22, including this, well, including the Abundantia, the race we saw earlier with Stone Silent. Now, it's tough to make up ground going 5/8 at Gulfstream, but she is consistent. She is going to get some pace, and she should be a playable price.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff. I could use this horse. The race might set up for, and that really wasn't the case last time in the Amandanja. That pace wasn't fast. They sat back. She did get an overall pretty good closer's trip. She got to stay towards the inside and got a clean run. But there was just no way that pace was really going to come back for her in there. I thought she ran okay, Dan. I think she's a contender in the spot.
5 months off for the 8 Canadian Sweetheart, who pulled off a huge upset 2 starts back, going 3/4 on turf at Woodbine. That was the Sweet Briar 2 Stakes, a race where she sat and finished. She was very aggressively ridden last time out and paid the price. She's done well at 5 in the past. She's won 8 of 18. There are some class concerns, even with that stakes win going 3/4 to back.
Yeah, that's how I looked at her too. I just wasn't quite convinced that she was good enough, although I appreciate the fact that she did win a stakes race two back sprinting on the grass, and she did it from off the pace. Then she got a really good trip in there, but maybe she'll get a really good trip in here.
And completing the field is the 9 Shasta Star. I'm very familiar with Shasta Star. She was lighting it up against starter optional claiming competition at Laurel last year. What did she win? She won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row, and she's still in pretty good form. Her last race was her second start for Steve Classaris down at Gulfstream this year, and she just had a brutal trip.
Yeah, I mean that's that Fulminate race that we were talking about before. This horse had the closers had no chance in there, and not only was this horse last early, but just a ridiculous ride from Jose Ortiz. He just never had her in position to do anything, and when he finally decided to do something with her and get her out into the clear in the straight, she actually ran and passed a bunch of horses. I just felt like she was really unlucky last time. You mentioned the winning streak, Dan. 6 in a row last year. That made her, at that time, 8 for 8 in her career sprinting on the grass. I get it. This is a real class test for her, and maybe it'll be too tough, but she can rate and run. She doesn't have to be last early in this race, and she just might be a little bit underrated.
Irad Ortiz was aboard for the synthetic win 2 starts back, and he will regain the mount on Shasta Star. And don't be fooled by those 5.5 turf wins and say, that stretch plays long. This horse was sharp enough to win going 5/8 at Pimlico during her big win streak. Let's take a look at our top selections now for the ladies' turf sprint. Stone Silent, to me, I've been waiting for her to kind of
Yeah,
take that step forward from a maturity standpoint. Maybe Lynch just found it, or maybe last time was the time.
maybe. I think she's way the horse to beat in this race, though. And I'm not way against her here, and I just want to take a shot with Shasta Star because that ride and trip last time was ridiculous.
This horse, Shasta Star, should offer some value stepping up in class. And again, was a win machine last year. Mike goes Shasta Star. I go Stone Silent in the feature at Gulfstream on Sunday. Good luck.